We can't take it anymore, can we, Tobes?
No.
A leak this morning. Our washing machine died, and in sorting out the plumbing went all over the floor, so we lifted the floor, and I have felt quite strongly for a while that the smell in here is just quite disgusting, and that it's as a result of this disgusting it's so gross. So I wanted to take this floor up for a while. Wasn't on our list of to-dos today. But here we are. Hopefully this will actually allow the floor to breathe a little bit, although it does appear to be like, honestly, like we found under here, let's see, there's bloody tarmac in the floor. Like, what's that all about? And then there's this like tarry, tiley stuff. Some really crap attempt at a DPC. Tell you what, guys, should have put DPC down before the concrete. Not rocket science. At least now we can clean it. Oh god, it's disgusting. I'm trying not to touch anything. We can't get our head round these, but there's, look, like nuts, or bolts, I should say. They're bolts, aren't they? But we don't really know, like, it implies that this concrete at some point was soft enough for things to sink into, but hard enough to walk on, which is the sort of thing that you'd expect tarmac to do, not concrete. It's really weird, but it's everywhere. So it's quite cool. We've got all these like nut marks, which I quite like actually. I think they're quite cool. So I am finally going to be getting rid of this red, which I really don't like, but it's also, we have a real problem with the chimney, which we don't really understand at the moment, where it's just damp. I don't know if you can see, but it's just got this constant sheen of moisture on it. And during the summer months when we don't want to be running the Rayburn, it just gets really damp, and then the paint, it just, oh my days. Oh, so we've done the floor. I'm just starting with the second coat over there, and I'm going to give this a clean down and try and get all like the friable material off. And then I'm going to give this paint as well, and then I'm going to get the Rayburn going. I would have kept it the plaster colour, which is quite nice, but it's, as you can see, it's all burnt and damp and ugh. Really, really feel the damp coming through. And the paint that was on here before was like, almost like a kind of latex stuff, which I obviously put on here to stop the damp coming through. But yeah, I haven't done any real, can you see up there? Any real prep work. The edges are so incredibly rough that I'm just not worrying about it. I'm just slapping it on. I'm slapping it on the floor, just getting it done really, because it is all going to come up. The moisture comes up through here, it comes through there. The paintwork is not going to last. So this is really just like a sticking plaster, which will hopefully make it just feel a little bit more bearable in here this winter, because it was so dark in here last winter. So I'm really happy with that actually. I really like the colour. I think it's really nice. The kitchen's had its little mini refurb. Floor's been painted. The stove, if you can see back there, We've given that a little bit of a paint as well because it was just looking a little bit sad. It's going to be an interesting winter in here, although it looks a little bit better than it did before. We have now no protection at all from any damp coming through on any of the floors on the ground floor. So this winter it could be quite damp in here with the moisture just coming up through. So, but at least on the plus side, we might be able to see just how much moisture is actually coming up through and how big an issue it is. I've recently bleached that to just try and keep on top of the spores. Got plaster that's kind of coming off the walls, damp in the corner there. That little thing there, that was just mud before and I've painted it, but that was pretty awful. We've got the architraves where they've been so wet. These are all completely rotten. Over here, we've got, this is almost always wet, and I've actually just cleaned off the moss that was growing on there. Where the lintel is completely open, we get lots and lots of spiders coming through. It's a total pain in the ass to keep clean. We get lots of dead insects as well, as you can see, because we live in the countryside. Just stuff drops from the lintel down onto here, and we have the same problem on this window. In fact, this one is worse. We just have constant stuff dropping down onto this windowsill, so just trying to keep things clean, it's really difficult. Down there is pretty fetid and disgusting. We try not to think about that too much because it grosses me out. Chimney, in fairness, where we did have the wet patches on the chimney constantly coming through, that has improved since we've painted that, and that is now looking fairly decent. I've also renovated this cooktop because that was pretty dangerous last year, although it is literally just wedged in there with the ropes. It's not particularly, yeah, it's on its last legs. The paint has obviously been quite kind to it and she's scrubbed up well, but it's still a bit of a death trap, this thing. And we have got carbon monoxide sensors everywhere to try and protect us. We have leaks that come through the ceiling. In here we had damp that was underneath that mat, so I took the lino up here because also the smell was pretty awful, and we had to remove the lino and the carpet in here last October because it basically, the carpet got completely ruined when water came up through that corner there. Yeah, okay, we bought a nice rug and stuff, but actually the reason we bought that rug is it was pretty cheap. It's synthetic. It's not what I would choose to put in my home. It's not wool, so it won't rot. And it's just to try and make this room feel a little bit more cosy and warm because of the concrete floor. We've got damp that comes through on this corner over here, on this wall over here. I mean, it's been dry for months now. We've not had any rain, and yet we've got moisture that comes up through these flags. We've got moisture there. We've got moss growing in amongst the flagstones. And then not to mention this whole corner of the house, which looks like it's about to fall down. Trying not to be too doom and gloom, but that's the reality. Like, everybody kind of says how lovely it is, but yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Really struggling with this right now. Trying to... Nobody wants to see you all a bit mopey on YouTube, but the reality is I feel like I'm just having my arse kicked at the moment. It's really hard. You know, on the one hand, I want to be authentic. Say how you really feel. I'm feeling like shit. I'm knackered. I'm worried about the winter in here. It's cold, it's damp, it smells. You know, we've put a sticking plaster on it with some paint, and yeah, the kitchen units are cool, but they need renovating. And trying to cook a meal when you can't open the drawers or the cupboards and everything just has mouse poo on it. I want to try and be authentic. It is really difficult, but that's real life, you know. It's not all rainbows and, you know, puppy dog tails. So